Welcome back to Bunters Yard. Today on the bench we have this Hornby extra long CCT van, which is fairly new out. It is R6970 if you're interested. I've got a few of these on the layout already. I just want to do this extra one and show you a couple of things, especially the roof. I think we're going to spend a bit more time on the roof than normal. Now, for the purpose of this video, we're going to imagine that the roof was probably made from metal and then painted grey. In reality, it may have been actually plywood and covered in like bitumen felt. I don't know, but we're going to pretend it was steel because that's what it's all about, modelling, I guess. So the roof doesn't come off. We need to just mask that up. So we're just going to mask it back with our masking tapes, and then we haven't got to worry about overspray and so on. It's just easier. And then we need to make the roof steel, so metal colour. So we're using steel from Vallejo Model Air. So this comes straight out of the bottle, and then we need to add some rust tones. So we're going to add them in the places where you think that the rust would appear. So around the vents and the gutters, and the front and the leading and trailing edge of the roof. So starting with dark brown rust and then an orange rust as well. Some of this will show through the chipping that we're going to do in a little bit. So no need to be too precise. Once that's done, we'll let that dry for a couple of hours, and then this is an enamel varnish that we're going to add on just from a spray can, and then we're using the Vallejo chipping medium. Now this we use it straight from the bottle. It comes out quite thick, and you can see, possibly if you look very closely, it kind of splatters out. So it doesn't give you a proper coverage, which is great. It's the effect we're after. We don't want to cover everything. We just want patches here and there. And then once that's dried, 30 minutes will be enough. We're going to cover that back in the whatever roof colour we want. And we're using another Vallejo Air colour. This is Panzer's Dark Grey. Haven't got to be too precise with the coverage. We want to be a bit patchy, a bit of a dodgy finish here and there, which suits my techniques down to the ground. We want it to look a bit tatty and faded and not totally perfect up there on the roof. Once we've done that, we are going to use a very slightly lighter shade. Just going to add a touch of white into that grey, and then sort of spray little patches on the roof. It's kind of a modulation effect that the military modelers use quite a lot. Just adds a nice sort of faded effect. So to the chipping, with a soft clean brush, we're using just plain water. Just wipe that on, just brush that on, give it a minute or so, and then you'll see the paint will start to lift. The chipping fluid will be activated, and then that lets the sort of the rust colours show through. And it's quite a gentle action with this one. You don't need to really work at it too hard. And just go in at the places where you want the rust to appear. You haven't got to do the whole roof, although we sprayed most of it with the chipping fluid. Just need to go to the patches where you think you would like the rust to show through. So around those vents, that leading edge, around this gutter here, we'll just have a go around there as well. There's no right or wrong way, to be fair. It's your interpretation of where you think the roof, the paint would chip off the roof. So we're just going to do a bit more of that. And then I'll come back to you in a second. Just while you're watching that, just wanted to sort of welcome all the new subscribers for this week. We've had quite a few new people join us this week from another channel, which is great. So I just wanted to thank Tim at Scrapline for suggesting our channel, which is lovely, and yeah, welcome everybody that's joined us from the scrap line. It's nice to see you watching our videos. So thank you very much, and hope that you'll enjoy this one and all the future videos. So once that's done, and we can just let it air dry if you want to. I tend to, at this point, just dab it with a dry cloth, just very gently. Just take the water off and stops any of the water sort of continue activating the chipping fluid and so on. But just do it very gently. It's not an essential step, but it's something that I do. And then the big reveal, we just unwrap it, take the masking tape off, and then we can see what we've achieved. So now we just need to do the rest of the wagon. So here we go. So our first stage is to add on some different colour planks along the sides of the van. So this first colour we're using is a Humbrol acrylic, which is like a BR blue, and it's a slightly different shade to what's already on the wagon. So we just can use it straight from the bottle, right from the jar, and just paint a few random panels here and there. And this to give the effect of panels that have either been replaced and painted in kind of the slightly different shade, or if it's been painted, it's been painted in the correct shade, but the rest of the wagon has faded. So it just gives an appearance of a replaced panel. And then some of the planks would be, the paint would have just completely stripped off, peeled off in the sunlight and the weather, and we're just going to simulate a couple of that with some, just some wood tone, or you can use any beige or grey colour that you've got to hand. It's not really really essential. We're going to cover this with some other colours soon anyway. It's just we just want a light colour. And we need to do this on both the sides of the wagon and on the front and on the ends, if that's what you want to do. Now we need to seal this in because the next layers could affect this. So we're using a vallejo polyurethane varnish, and we're going to let that fully dry for its 4 hours before we continue with the next stage. So we're going to just do a little bit at a time using this sand color. It's just a light color. It just simulates sort of dust from the track and so on. And then before it gets the chance to dry, we're going to wipe that back, and we use a cotton bud in this case, and this is dry. Although you can use a brush or a cloth if you choose to. It's easier to do just one panel at a time because this will dry very quickly, and it becomes difficult to get off. Now if it does start to dry, you can just dampen your cotton bud very slightly, and it makes it a bit easier to clean back. And we're not looking to get everything off. You can see that some of that stays around in there, around the edges and in between the planks, so it just adds that sort of tired and dusty effect, which is what we're after. You can use a darker colour. You don't need to use, this is like I say, sand. If you want to use a darker brown or a mud colour, then it depends on the environment you're modelling. You may want to choose a darker tone entirely. So once we've done every side and the ends, we're going to start on with our sort of grime for the chassis and the underbody. So this is a colour called brown violet, which is just a brown tone that I happen to have, and we're going to use that on the chassis rails there, and we're just going to make sure that some of it sprays up the side of the body of the wagon, just to sort of blend it in, so it doesn't look like it's two distinct parts, so it looks like it all weathered at the same time. And a few little runs from the top as well, just very gently. Low pressure on the airbrush. We're probably running about 15 psi, and we're just going very gently, just to add a little bit of grime here and there. And if you choose, you can do a whole panel in the grime, and the ends will be more grimy than the rest, so use a little bit more towards the end, and then a line across the top, just to tie the roof in a little bit more with the body. And then just as a slightly different tone to use, we're going to add in a slightly darker brown, which is US Earth, I think it's called. And we're not going to add that in everywhere. We're just going to a few patches here and there around the axle boxes and so on. And then these the brakes there, these parts here hold on the wheels on these wagons with slightly different arrangement to before. And they're also going to paint the wheels as well. We'll give them a colour as well before we put them back on. Now, a lot of wagons have chalk markers on the side. I'm not totally sure what they all mean. I know this one means condemned, I think, or scrap, but they would have destination markings and all sorts of things written on the side. So these are just a few random markings I'm going to put on this one. They don't mean anything in particular. And this is a nice sort of propelling pencil that I've got recently, which is really good for this sort of thing. I'll put a link down below for this if anyone's interested in that. So we've got a couple of weathering powders. Now we just wanted an algae mossy type feel to this one, so we're using this chrome oxide green powder. You need to be very careful when you use this because it is very green. And then we're going to mix it in with the Humbrol dark earth, which is a very sort of neutral, general, dark sort of weathering powder that I like to use. We need to mix them together. Don't use the green on its own. It is just too green. It's just I don't see any purpose for it being that green. So we need to mix it together, and then it will still be green and probably look too green on here, but it's a nice effect. It just looks a nice sort of mouldy algae effect, as if it's been out in the rain forever, which they probably have. But just go very gently with this. You know, you can always add more. It's difficult to take weathering powders off, especially the Humbrol ones. Once they're on, you know, they're on. But you can see the green effects coming through, although we mixed it down quite a lot. It doesn't need to go on every panel. If that's what you choose to do, then that's great. Whatever, you know, the style you're after. We're just going to do a few panels here and there, I think, on this one. In the weathering powder, the Humbrol Dark Earth, and some different rust tones I've got sitting in the well there. We're just going to add them around the axle boxes there, and the suspension, and some of the chassis rails there. Just a little bit of the green chrome oxide to the roof as well. And then the final stage, when it's all dry, is to add in this shaft and bearing grease, which is like an enamel wash, and it will dry with a slightly glossy sheen to make it look like a wet, sort of greasy oil. And that's it. We're pretty much done. Hope this was as useful, and as I say, thanks for joining us today and watching our latest video from Bunters Yard. We've got a few more coming up this week. So yeah, thanks once again. If you're not subscribed, please do that, and we'll see you very soon. Bye for now.